After a heavy rainstorm that lasted all night, Tae Nin woke up the next morning, with bright sunshine shining everywhere. The storm left many traces: flooded roads, fallen trees blocking the road, and branches scattered throughout the villages east of the city and the suburbs. Luckily, houses were not severely damaged, but fallen trees were everywhere, hindering traffic and people's daily activities. Mr. Tu's sawing team, famous in the area for its ability to handle the situation quickly and professionally, received requests from local authorities and households for help. Early in the morning, when the sunlight was still mild, his team got in the car, carrying full equipment and tools to go to the scene. Today is a beautiful day, but the roads are definitely muddy. The whole team will try to work quickly so that the villagers can still travel, Mr. Tu said to his team while driving, including close brothers such as Mr. Sun, Mr. Man and Mr. Lam. Everyone is used to this job, especially after a big storm. They not only saw trees but also clean up and help restore the landscape after each natural disaster. When they arrived at the first village in the east of the city, the scene before their eyes was no different from a picture of devastation. A large old tree had broken in half, fallen down in the middle of the main road, blocking all traffic. Besides, many smaller branches were also broken, leaves and branches were scattered everywhere. The villagers, although trying to clean up, could not handle such a large tree. This is the biggest tree in the village. We will start from here, then continue to other roads, Mr. Tu directed the group. Mr. Sun and Mr. Man began checking the area around the tree to make sure no villagers were standing too close, while Mr. Lam installed safety ropes and prepared the chainsaw. Their team worked according to strict safety principles, especially when dealing with fallen trees that could be life-threatening. The chainsaw started up, the rumbling sound breaking the silence of the morning. On Tu approached the tree, observing the cutting position so that the tree could be divided into small pieces without causing danger. Under the bright sunlight, sweat had begun to bead on everyone's forehead, but everyone was highly focused on the work. We cut each piece from the base up, then divide the tree into small, easy-to-move pieces, On Tu said loudly over the sound of the chainsaw. On Sun, standing nearby, nodded, "Okay, let's do it. We'll clear the small branches first." As On Tu started cutting the tree trunk, large pieces of wood fell to the ground one by one. Each piece of wood cut out would be quickly moved to the roadside by On Man and Uncle Lam, thanks to the ropes and human strength. The work was hard, but it was done regularly and rhythmically. This tree must be very old. The storm broke it, but the wood is still very strong, said Mr. Sun, breathing heavily after moving a piece of wood. Yes, the tree is big and has stood firm through many storms, but the recent storm must have been very fierce, Mr. Lam replied, his hands working non-stop. Everyone laughed with each other as they continued working. Despite the tiring work, Mr. Tu's sawing team always kept an optimistic spirit, finding ways to share funny stories to reduce the pressure. Mr. Man recounted the story of the last time he went to saw a fallen tree on the provincial road, encountering a snake that suddenly crawled out of the tree trunk, forcing the whole team to run away. The whole group burst into laughter, their laughter mixed with the sound of the chainsaw, creating a space that was both bustling and familiar. After nearly an hour, the old tree was cut into many small pieces and neatly moved to the side of the road. The main road in the village was now clear, and people could start to travel normally. On2 stopped, looking at the group's achievements with satisfaction. Okay, let's continue to the next villages. The storm just passed and broke many trees. The group got on the car and moved to the next village. There, an old mango tree had also been knocked down by the storm, blocking a small alley leading to the residential area. Everyone quickly carried out the work as usual, taking turns dividing the tree into easy-to-move sections. The sky was now sunny, the bright yellow light shining directly on the ground, making the air gradually hotter. But a gentle wind blew from the fields, bringing a bit of coolness to the whole team. While On2 carefully sawed each branch, On continued the story of the time the sawing team had to work all night after another storm. At that time, everyone had to wear headlamps, sawing while avoiding the branches that were still shaking in the strong wind. Thinking back, I think I was really brave back then. Thinking back now, I'm afraid I won't dare to do it again, On said with a laugh. If you're afraid of this job, you probably won't last long, Tu replied, smiling but still working. The work continued until the afternoon, when the sun had cooled down. The roads and alleys of the eastern villages and the suburbs of Tay Ninh gradually became clear and clean. Fallen trees were cut down and cleared, leaving gaps that had previously been filled with fallen branches and leaves. On2 and his team packed up their tools, wiped their sweat, and looked back at the results of a hard day's work. Everyone in the village came to thank them, praising the team's agility and professionalism. It was a long day, but worth it, On2 said, patting on Sun and On on the shoulders. That's right, we helped the villagers again. Let's go home and rest. Uncle Lamb said loudly, and the whole team laughed happily. At the end of a working day, On2's sawing team continued on their familiar path, knowing that their work is always needed when nature is angry, bringing safety and peace to their beloved villages.